Let's use machine learning to predict how staking 0.2 for Chainlink will affect Link's price. So hey everyone, welcome back to Upside Down Data. Today I want to talk about the staking 0.02 that just went live for Chainlink and how we can use machine learning to try to get an idea of how this might affect Link's price, or at the very least, Link's fair value. What is its fair value in the market based on what we know right now? So to set it up, staking v0.2 just went live for Link. It is a stepwise process of who is able to do it. So people who are involved in the 0.1 staking will get early access to do that. Then there's some other folks who will get early access. Then finally, general access December 11th, if there's anything left. What's going to be important for our discussion here today is the fact that the size of this pool is 45 million Link, and this is larger than the V1 pool, which was 25 million Link. And so the question is, do we expect this to have an effect on Link's price? So the way that I went about answering this question was thinking about what Link's fair value is and how staking might affect that fair value. So fair value is not the literal price you'd expect a Link to be at a given point in time. It's more about what is the fair value given other things that we know about the market for Link. And then it helps you identify points when it's relatively overvalued relative to whatever its fair value might be, and also points where it's undervalued relative to where its fair value might be. So with this model here, this is a relatively simple one that I built. It's a machine learning model that takes in ETH price, Bitcoin price, and time as its inputs. And then this is its prediction of fair value for Link. And you see it does a pretty good job identifying relative over and undervalue points for Link. But importantly, this doesn't include circulating supply, which is where I think staking probably has its biggest influence. So with circulating supply, we think that that should probably be related to price. Price is determined by supply and demand. So the more supply you have out on the market, probably the more demand you'll need to get price to move up, relatively speaking. But with staking, the interesting thing there is that it effectively takes supply off the market. You're effectively locking up Link in this case and staking it, and that creates friction. You're probably going to just want to leave it there, continue earning your yield. It's probably going to take more for you to actually unstake that. So we can make a pretty strong, we can potentially just make an assumption here that staked Link is effectively taken out of the circulating supply. It's unlikely that that's going to really be moving around while people have it staked. So we want to get an idea of is what is the fair value for Link when we include circulating supply in the model, which is what I did here. And then how does this fair value change when we take into account the fact that staking V2 here is going to take a large chunk of Link out of the circulating supply, effectively speaking. So one of the things you'll notice when we account for circulating supply in the fair value model is it actually does make a difference. You'll note that here, this supply adjusted fair value model actually has the fair value below the current price, whereas the previous model, not accounting for circulating supply, had it above the current price. So that's notable. And so the question that I want to ask then is, how does this change when we take into account that the circulating supply might actually be smaller than what this model thinks, given the fact that staking effectively takes Link out of circulating supply? So once all 45 million are staked in the V2 pool, how will that change this fair value? So that's what I did. I basically reran the model and told it that by December 11th, 45 million Link would be taken out of the circulating supply and see what it does with the fair value. And what you'll notice is it's a pretty big change when you tell the model that on December 11th, suddenly there's going to be 45 million fewer Link on the market. Suddenly the fair value jumps. And in fact, it goes all the way even above what the current price is. So if we just look at the raw numbers, the kind of current fair value price not accounting for staking is at $8.6 based on that supply adjusted fair value model. But then when you take into account staking for v0.2, then suddenly goes all the way up to $16.22 above where Link is currently trading. And if you're just looking at in terms of a difference in fair value, it's over an 100% move to the upside. Basically, the fair value for Link doubles after staking 0.2. That's a pretty nice change, I would say. But wait a minute, you might say that there's something missing here. There was already staking v0.1, and in that, there was already 25 million Link that were basically locked away at the end of 2022. Don't we have to take those into account? Is it really the case that we're going to have 45 million new Link taking out of the circulating supply, like what I was just testing before? Or is it the case that we've already had 25 million taken out, and now we're just going to take out an additional 20? And how does that change the impact on fair value. Well, that's a great point, and we can test that. So basically what I did is I ran a new model where I did make that adjustment, where I basically told the model to take out 25 million of circulating supply back over here, and then see what happens when you take out an additional 20 million over here with staking v0.2. And so what you'll notice is, again, there's a big jump in the fair value, but not quite as large as what we saw if we assume that all 45 million are going to be new coming out. And so if we just look then at the impact here, similar current fair value as the previous model, but then the value after staking is a 46% move to the upside instead of a 100% move to the upside in terms of fair value. So it's certainly nothing to sneeze at, but not quite as large. But I think regardless of how you look at it, the overall conclusion is about the same, that this should have a positive impact on Link's fair value, where the more that circulating supply increases, the more that's a downward pressure on price. At least that's what this is suggesting, that fair value goes down, generally speaking, as circulating supply goes up. But when you take out big chunks of that, it can have a notable effect. And one of the things that we might be seeing with this big run for Link that we saw is maybe it's partly the market sniffing that out, being somewhat efficient, where if the fair value was likely to be moving up, maybe the market just kind of front ran that into staking v2 launching. So some things to think about, but I think the overall takeaway that I have here is that this is certainly a good thing, most likely for Link's fair value. And generally speaking, even if the fair value isn't even at the current price, in some ways that doesn't matter. What you really want to see with fair value is it staying relatively close to price. If you're in an uptrend and fair value is sticking relatively close to price, then everything should be fine. But if you start seeing the fair value fall off a cliff, really start moving down to the downside aggressively, that is a concerning sign that might mean that things might be moving down afterwards. So basically the fact that fair value is starting to follow price up is a good sign, because it might mean that we don't need to really have a deep correction to find fair value, and then we can, maybe form a bottom, move back up to the upside after that. So in the short term, staking might not have a notable impact on Link's price, but kind of behind the scenes, when you're thinking about the fair value for Link, it could be a pretty notable effect, as high as 100% to the upside or 46% to the upside in terms of the fair value. All right, if you like the content, remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and follow us on X. A lot of updates about our models and more over there. And if you want to see live data from our models, you can go check out our website, PolarityDigital.io. Link is in the description.